The story opens at MIT, a famous American university. Professor Gerald is teaching an advanced mathematics class. After the lecture, he challenges his students by saying he will write an extremely difficult math problem on the board outside the classroom. He promises that anyone who solves it will have their name written in golden letters in the college. To inspire them further, he explains that some students who solved this problem in the past are now leaders in their fields. He admits the problem is very difficult and gives them until the end of the semester to solve it. After class ends, we meet Will Hunting, a young man who works there as a cleaner. While doing his job, Will notices the math problem written on the board. Later that night, he goes home and begins solving the equation on his bathroom mirror. The next day, when no one is around, he quietly picks up a piece of chalk and writes the correct solution on the board. This is a remarkable achievement because he solves the problem in just one day. Outside of work, Will spends most of his time hanging out with his friends. One day, while watching a baseball game, Will notices a boy who used to bully him in school. Seeing him brings back old anger, and Will loses control. He confronts the boy along with his friends, and a fight breaks out. Will takes his revenge by hitting him hard. His friends try to stop him before things get worse. By that time, the police arrive, and when an officer tries to restrain Will, he attacks him. As a result, Will is arrested. Meanwhile, Professor Gerald discovers that the difficult math problem has been solved. He rushes to check the board and confirms that the solution is correct. He asks his smartest students if any of them solved it. When they all deny it, the professor is left stunned. Word spreads quickly, and his next class is completely full. Everyone wants to know who the mysterious math genius is. The professor asks the solver to step forward so he can reward them. The students look at one another, but no one comes forward. Since no one claims credit, Professor Gerald writes another math problem on the board. He tells the class that it took him 2 years to solve this one himself. He confidently says that even the genius who solved the first problem will not be able to solve this so quickly. At the same time, Will is released from jail. He returns to his cleaning job and notices the new problem on the board. Without hesitation, he begins working on it. Suddenly, Professor Gerald comes out of his office and sees Will writing. Thinking Will is just messing around, he moves to stop him. As the professor approaches, Will panics and runs away. When Gerald later checks the board, the question that took him 2 years to complete was solved by this young man in no time. Now he finally understood who the secret math genius was. After finishing work, Will met his friends and went to a bar to have a few drinks. When they noticed some attractive girls nearby, Will's friend Chucky walked over and started flirting. Trying to impress them, Chucky lied and said that he studied at MIT and was a genius. At that moment, another man interrupted and asked him which class he was in. Chucky confidently replied that he studied history. Realizing Chucky was lying, the man began mocking him and asked difficult questions about history. Chucky knew nothing and was left speechless. Seeing his friend being humiliated, Will stepped in and challenged the man himself. Will had an incredible memory and never forgot anything he read. He responded with clear facts and sharp language, completely shutting the man down. Will then mocked him by saying he was just repeating lines from books like a rehearsed actor. He pointed out that the man spent thousands of dollars on education, while he learned the same knowledge for free in a public library. Embarrassed and angry, the man stormed off. Afterward, one of the girls named Skylar approached Will and gave him her phone number. Impressed by his intelligence and confidence, she asked him to call her sometime. Later, Will jokingly shared her number with the man who had tried to act smart earlier. Meanwhile, Professor Gerald was actively searching for the cleaner who had solved his impossible math problem. After making some inquiries, he managed to get Will's contact details. He went directly to Will's court hearing, where Will was being charged with assaulting a police officer. Will tried his best to defend himself in front of the judge. However, the judge reminded him that he already had a criminal record involving theft and violence. The judge said he could not ignore the attack on the police officer. Will was sentenced to jail, and his bail was set at $400,000. Unable to pay the amount, Will was sent back to prison. While in jail, Will met Professor Gerald, who offered him a deal. Gerald explained that he had spoken to the judge and could help get Will released. However, Will had to agree to 2 conditions. The first condition was that he must study advanced mathematics under Professor Gerald. The second condition required him to attend regular counseling sessions. Will laughed at the idea but did not want to stay in jail. Having no better option, he agreed to both conditions. Soon, Will began attending math sessions with Professor Gerald. The professor was amazed by Will's extraordinary intelligence and problem-solving ability. According to the second condition, Will also had to meet with therapists. However, Will refused to open up to any of them. Instead, he mocked and outsmarted each therapist he met. He would read their published books beforehand and use their own theories against them. As a final attempt, Professor Gerald reached out to his old friend Shawn Maguire, a psychology professor. At first, Shawn refused and said he did not have time for such trouble. When Gerald explained that the boy was truly special and would destroy his own future if he stayed on the wrong path, Shawn finally agreed to meet Will. Will treated Shawn the same way he had treated his previous therapists. He had already read Shawn's book and began mocking him using his own theories. However, Shawn remained calm and spoke to Will in a relaxed and normal manner. He did not ask personal questions or push Will to talk about his past. Will's attention then shifted to a painting that Shawn had created himself. After looking at the painting and some art books, Will began making careless remarks about Shawn's life. Shawn Shawn ignored most of what Will said and showed little reaction. Then Will mentioned Shawn's wife. At the mention of her, Shawn became visibly upset. Will quickly noticed this weakness and kept bringing her into the conversation. He asked why Shawn's wife was not there and suggested that she might have left him for someone else. Hearing this, Shawn lost his temper and grabbed Will by the throat. He warned Will never to insult his wife again. Will calmly said that the session time was over. Shawn released him and Will walked away, believing he had defeated another therapist. Seeing Shawn's anger, Professor Gerald assumed the sessions were finished. But Shawn surprised him by agreeing to continue the counseling. He told Gerald to bring Will to him regularly starting next week. After the session, Will went on a date with Skylar. During their time together, Will learned that Skylar came from a very wealthy family. He also discovered that she was studying at Harvard University. They enjoyed each other's company and shared a great evening. At the end of their first date, they kissed. The following week, when Will returned for another session, Shawn suggested they talk outside. He took Will to a park and began a serious conversation. Shawn told him that he had thought deeply about everything Will had said earlier. He explained that Will behaved like a child who did not fully understand his own words. He also pointed out that Will could be rude at times. Shawn told him that he understood why Will avoided opening up. He said that fear was probably the reason. He warned Will that if he never spoke honestly, he would eventually lose the good things in his life. The next day, Will went to work at a construction site with his friend Chucky. He tried calling Skylar, but she seemed distant and hesitant to talk. During Will's third therapy session, neither he nor Shawn said a single word. They sat in silence for the entire hour. The fourth session started the same way, with complete silence. Eventually, Will broke the silence by telling a joke. Taking this as a sign, Shawn gently asked if Will had a girlfriend. Will told him about Skylar and explained that their first date was perfect. He also admitted that now they were barely talking. When Shawn asked why, Will said that Skylar was too good for him. He believed that if the relationship continued, everything would fall apart. He feared that she would eventually realize he did not deserve her. Shawn explained that no one is better or worse than anyone else. He said that everyone has strengths and flaws. What truly matters is whether two people are right for each other. To help Will understand this, Shawn began talking about his own wife. Shawn said that she was a wonderful person and that he loved her deeply. He added that she sometimes used to fart in her sleep. This unexpected comment changed the mood of the room. Both Will and Shawn burst out laughing. In that moment, they grew a little closer, and Will began to feel more comfortable with Shawn. The session came to an end, and Shawn advised Will to talk openly with the girl he liked. Will was so engaged in the conversation that Shawn had to remind him the session was over. Shawn suggested they leave and continue their lives outside the room. Following Shawn's advice, Will went to Skylar's college and asked her out again. Skylar said she wanted to go out with him, but she had a very difficult academic problem to solve. She explained that it might take several days. Unable to wait, Will asked her to show him the question. After seeing it, Will quickly solved it and wrote the answer on a napkin. He told her that she had no excuse left and should come with him. During their second date, Skylar asked Will about his family. Will lied and said he had 12 brothers. Skylar asked him to name them all. Will immediately listed 12 random names in perfect order. Suspicious, Skylar asked him to repeat the names again. Will repeated the same sequence without any mistake. Skylar realized that Will was truly a genius. At the next therapy session, Will asked Shawn if he ever regretted meeting his wife. He said that after her death, Shawn must have felt extremely lonely and heartbroken. In response, Shawn shared how he met his wife. He explained that the first time he saw her, she was standing in line with her friends to buy tickets for a baseball game. It was an important match. Will reacted in shock and said that Shawn was lucky to see the game live. Shawn replied that he never watched the game at the stadium. He chose to leave his friends and go on a date with that girl instead. That girl later became his wife. Will could not believe Shawn gave up such a historic game for a date. Shawn calmly said that he never regretted meeting her. He explained that even though she was only in his life for a few years, those years were the most beautiful of his life. Later, Skylar asked Will why he never introduced her to his friends or family. Will continued lying about his life. However, he agreed to introduce her to his friends. Will, Skylar, and his friends met at a bar. Skylar genuinely liked them, and everyone enjoyed the evening. At that moment, Professor Gerald arrived to ask about Will's progress. Shawn explained that Will was slowly opening up, but it would take more time. Professor Gerald said he was trying to secure a high-level job for Will. He believed Will would easily clear any interview once his mental struggles were resolved. He was confident that no one could stop Will from becoming famous in the field of mathematics. Shawn questioned whether Gerald was trying to control Will's life. He said that being a genius did not mean Will had to follow a forced path. He argued that Will should be allowed to choose his own future. However, Professor Gerald insisted that he saw no other option. Professor Gerald refused to let Will's talent go to waste. However, Will had no interest in the kind of job Gerald wanted for him. Instead, Will sent his friend Chucky to attend the interview in his place. One night, while talking about their future, Skylar asked Will if he would move to California with her. Hearing this, Will became nervous and immediately refused. He said that his entire life was in this place place and he could not leave. Skylar questioned him and said she knew he loved her. She asked why he was so afraid of fully committing to her. She also pointed out that Will never told her the complete truth. Skylar then revealed that she knew he had lied about having 12 brothers. When his lie was exposed, Will lost his temper. He angrily asked what she wanted to know about his life. He confessed that he was an orphan and had no idea where his parents were. He explained that he spent his childhood moving from one foster home to another. In one of those homes, the family used to beat him badly. He said they treated him like an animal. Skylar broke down in tears and told Will that it was okay. She promised that she would stay with him no matter what. However, Will pushed her away and said he did not need anyone's help. Deep inside, Will was terrified that if he let someone get close, they would eventually leave him. Skylar cried and told him that she loved him and would never abandon him. Will lied and said that he did not love her. He then walked away, leaving Skylar alone and heartbroken. After this, and due to Professor Gerald's pressure, Will finally agreed to take the job interview. However, when he went to the interview, he showed no real interest in getting the job. During a therapy session, Shawn asked Will who he trusted the most in his life. Will replied that he trusted his friend Chucky. Shawn agreed and said that Chucky was like a brother to him. He explained that Chucky would even risk his life for Will. However, Shawn pointed out that a person cannot spend their entire life relying only on friends. Shawn then asked Will how he planned to earn a living. Will replied that he would work as a daily wage laborer. He said he was skilled at construction and could do that work forever. Shawn explained that labor work had become Will's comfort zone. He said Will was afraid to step outside of it. Shawn warned that this fear would stop Will from living a better life. Instead of forcing Gerald's job choice on him, Shawn asked Will what he truly wanted to do with his life. Will joked that he wanted to herd sheep and goats. Realizing Will was not being serious, Shawn became firm. He told Will that he did not want to waste his time. He said that if Will could not answer honestly, he should leave. This made Will angry and he started shouting at Shawn. Shawn calmly asked him again what he wanted to do with his life. Will remained silent and gave no answer. Shawn then told him to leave the office. Before Skylar left for California, Will called her to say goodbye. Skylar told him she loved him one last time. Will smiled, but fear stopped him from responding. Deep inside, he believed that his heart would eventually be broken. The next day, while talking to Chucky, Will said that he was not going to take any job. He also admitted that Skylar was gone now as well. Will said that they could keep working construction and live a simple life in the same neighborhood. Hearing this, Chucky finally spoke from his heart. He told Will that if he still saw him in the same place after 10 years, it would break his heart. Chucky said that every morning when he goes to pick Will up, he secretly hopes one day Will will not be there. He explained that his biggest dream was to see Will do something meaningful with his life. Meanwhile, Professor Gerald was troubled by the fact that he could not convince Will to take the job. Shawn told Gerald that they should not force Will to make such a big decision. He said Will did not even know what he truly wanted yet. Shawn explained that Will feared abandonment, which is why he kept people at a distance. Gerald disagreed and said he could not let Will ruin his future. He asked Shawn if he wanted Will to end up like him. Shawn replied calmly that he was not a failure. He said he chose this life willingly and was happy with it. At that moment, Will entered the room and overheard their conversation. Professor Gerald quietly left so the therapy session could begin. Shawn showed Will a file containing photos of the scars on his body from childhood abuse. Will asked if Shawn had ever seen a child beaten so badly. Shawn shared that his own father was an alcoholic. He said his father used to beat both him and his mother. Hearing this triggered painful memories for Will. Shawn stepped closer and gently told Will that whatever happened to him was not his fault. Will nodded, but Shawn kept repeating it. He said again and again that it was not Will's fault. At first, Will said he understood, but Shawn continued, asking him to truly accept it. Will's eyes filled with tears. He pushed Shawn away, trying to hold himself together. Shawn calmly repeated that none of it was his fault. Finally, Will broke down completely. He hugged Shawn tightly and cried uncontrollably. In that moment, Will finally released the pain of his past. Now ready to move forward, Will decided to accept one of the jobs arranged by Professor Gerald. With this breakthrough, his final therapy session came to an end. Will asked Shawn if they could talk again sometime. Shawn smiled and told him that his door would always be open. Will hugged Shawn one last time and said goodbye. For Will's 21st birthday, his friends gifted him a car. The car was old, but Will loved it because it came from the people who mattered most to him. Later, Professor Gerald visited Shawn and apologized for calling him a failure. The two old friends reunited and made peace. Shawn told Gerald that he was planning to travel around the world. He joked that he did not earn small money anymore. While Shawn was packing for his trip, Will drove to his house. He quietly dropped a letter into Shawn's mailbox and left. Later, Chucky went to Will's house to take him to work. He knocked on the door, but no one answered. When he looked inside, he realized Will was gone. Chucky smiled, knowing that Will had finally chosen his path. Shawn later found the letter Will had written. In it, Will explained that he was not taking the job. Instead, he was going to California to find Skylar. After reading the letter, Shawn smiled and walked inside. He believed that now his genius would finally live the life he deserved. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video, share it with your friends who love emotional and inspiring movies. Subscribe to the channel for more amazing movie explanations. Thank you so much for watching.